Hello, and welcome to Building Black Land Ownership and Community Development. This event is part of the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth monthly series brought to you by the Pieces Collective. As we continue to and strengthen the virtual Pieces Collective community, we are excited to look to a future that is physical as well. Today, we discuss what it means to grow our community through land ownership. What will we gain in ourselves by this type of expansion that is beyond just the physical land? Before we bring on our guest to lead this powerful discussion, I would like to introduce the executive director of the Pieces Collective. Ikrama Muhammad founded the Pieces Collective in 2018, the goal of which is to contribute to human development through experiential learning, economics, and education. Please join me in welcoming Ikrama Muhammad to tell us more about the Pieces Collective.
Yes. Hi, Rochelle. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to see you this evening.
Yes, I'm seeing this necklace too. I see.
Oh, you like?
I love.
Happiness is handmade. That's our motto.
That's right.
But I wanted to just come up and speak a little bit about the Pieces Collective and a few things about the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth. The Pieces Collective is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization, and our mission is to support and promote traditional handcrafting and healing arts and to use our creativity to build thriving communities. We have a website where we feature makers, handmade items, and their products, and we use portions of those proceeds to sponsor and host programs such as the one that we're here attending tonight, the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth. But before I go further into our program, I want to pay tribute to a sister who's very important in our community that we lost recently. She was a giant in our community, and her name is Minister Dr. Ava Muhammad. Sister Ava Muhammad was the official spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. She was his helper in spreading the message of freedom, justice, and equality as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and dedicated to serving our community and people who want freedom everywhere. Sister Ava was a minister, a doctor, a wife, and a mother, and she was a supreme example of a sister and virtuous woman. She taught us real love and took us to elevated places. Because of her help and dedication, we know that self-improvement is the basis for community development. She also left us with a body of work that we can study for years to come. So if you haven't heard our dear sister, please visit NOI.org or go to YouTube. She has several talks on YouTube, and she is the author of several books. Please pick them up and listen to her. You'll be the better for it. So while we are saddened by her loss, we are inspired by her life and her work, and we pray that God is pleased with her. So tonight we have this exciting program, something very important. One of the things that is most important to our community is land, whether we know that or not. And Sister Ava was also leading a movement for us to have our own land, to build neighborhoods where we can be safe and healthy and productive and joyous. So this has always been our desire. And even just up out of slavery, land was on our mind. In 1865, just prior to the end of the Civil War, there was a meeting between 20 ministers and representatives of then President Lincoln, the Secretary of War, and General Sherman. And at that meeting, these ministers were asked what did they think they needed once we had emancipation. The representative for the ministers, Reverend Garrison Frazier, responded this way: "The way we can best take care of ourselves is to have land and turn it and till it by our own labor. That is, by the labor of women and children and old men. And we can soon maintain ourselves and have something to spare. We want to be placed on land until we're able to buy it and make it our own." All but one of the ministers agreed. So Special Field Order 15 was enacted. And what that did, we know that today, refer to that today as 40 acres and a mule. What that did was grant 40 acres to the newly freed people. And that was territory from South Carolina, the coast of South Carolina, all the way down to Florida. Unfortunately, that promise was short-lived after the assassination of President Lincoln, when President Andrew Jackson rescinded the order and confiscated the land. That land today is the resort areas that we now know as Hilton Head and all down the Georgia and Florida coast. And you can imagine the wealth our community would have had we retained that land. But we were not discouraged by that, because while the loss of that land was huge, it didn't deter us. From 1865 to 1915, we built at least 65 Black towns and community, and those are only the ones that have been documented. There are many more documented. In 1910, Black farmers owned 16 million acres of farmland. Unfortunately, today that number is approximately 4.7 million. We have to keep in mind land is where we get our basic needs: food, clothing, and shelter. I was listening to a program this weekend, and the speaker mentioned that freedom is a consequence of action. You know, we often think of freedom as a thing that you can give to people or take from people. But if you consider that it's a consequence of an action, then, you know, having land and building on our land is one of those consequences that we need to have in order to have freedom. It's one of the ways that we can ensure that we continue to have freedom. So as I mentioned, we have a rich history of community building and land ownership. And as one of our panelists today reminded me, we have a rich present as well. And I just want to name some of the companies that we have been in touch with. Of course, Blank Slate CDM in Baltimore, Charm City Buyers in Baltimore, Parity Homes in Baltimore, Black Women Build in Baltimore, Bliss Meadow in Baltimore. Baltimore's got it going on. In further south, we have Freedom Georgia Initiatives in Georgia. We have McAfee 3 Architects in Atlanta, Georgia. We have Hereafter Farms in Georgia. And then we have Supreme Investors Land of Our Own. These are just a few of the organizations and initiatives that are happening across the country. And we are blessed this evening to have 3 of those aforementioned initiatives and programs and businesses on our panel tonight. So we thank you and our panelists for the generosity of your time, and I hope you enjoy and are inspired to action. I have one last thing. Yesterday was my sister's birthday, so please wish her a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Karen. Peace and love. Enjoy the show.
Time time to shine the light on one Atlanta man who's living up to the legacy of his namesake.
Booker T. Washington is the first African American to successfully build a tiny home community at a time when housing has become a crisis.
Now, the community will launch this fall. Mr. Washington is a man on a mission, which makes him our Revolutionary of the Week.
Modern design, solar power, and smart home technology. These futuristic homes aren't in Silicon Valley. They're built in College Park, a largely African-American community just south of Metro Atlanta.
These homes will be able to give people luxury finishes or close to modern finishes, but because of the size, we're able to afford those types of finishes. They're going to be getting some sustainable home solutions like solar panels or solar shingles, as well as smart home entry, video, and remote Wi-Fi access to their homes. Homeowners are going to get access to online financial literacy education through an embedded tablet.
Booker T. Washington. No, not that Booker T. Washington. This one and his company, Techie Homes, makes him the first African-American to successfully create a tiny home community.
I am named after Booker Teleferro Washington. So yes, my name is Booker Teleferro Washington. I am not related. I was actually born on campus at Tuskegee Institute.
Getting your hands on one of these properties is not easy. South Park Cottages sold out for $5.9 million in just 50 days. These historic high-tech homes are completely crowdfunded and Black invested.
It wasn't just about price and affordability. A lot of people were choosing tiny homes because of its flexibility, because of its sustainability to the environment, the ways it allowed families to live a more abundant life by not spending as much money on their primary residence.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 2020, 44.1% of Black Americans own their homes compared to 74.5% of white counterparts. Washington's mission to disrupt home buying in major urban markets.
The area that I grew up in, only 15% of that whole section of that South Fulton County area is homeowners. You can talk about almost any urban community, any town USA, and it's affecting African Americans all in the same way. The urban areas is where major developers see the biggest amount of money they can make. So it systematically squeezes people out, where now the median home price in Atlanta is $400,000. 5 years ago, the median home price in Atlanta was $225,000. I wanted to do something residentially and build in that community without having to squeeze and move people out, that gives them a chance at home ownership at that price of between $180,000 and the mid 200s.
Washington has no signs of slowing down, righting the wrongs of so many systemic issues.
But Atlanta as a whole has transitioned so much in real estate that it's amazing that it hasn't matriculated down to the areas of town that need the most development. The roads are still in need of infrastructure and development. There are still rundown apartments and rental communities for which we try to claim as affordable housing. And that is a moral issue for me.
Oh, wow. So we have a lot to discuss, right? I hope y'all are ready to get into it. I hope y'all are excited. This discussion is going to be led by some amazing people. So I'd like to welcome Ashley Scott. Ashley Scott is a visionary entrepreneur and creative executive. Ashley currently serves as the vice president of the Freedom Georgia Initiative, formed in 2020 to create a thriving safe haven for Black families in response to dealing with racial trauma, a global pandemic, and social economic instabilities. Ashley is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and an active member in her church ministry. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.
We also have Alex Aaron. Aaron is the founder and CEO of Blank Slate, a minority-owned development and construction company specializing in revitalizing vacant historic properties and stabilizing distressed neighborhoods. Since 2016, Blank Slate has developed and sold $4.5 million across Baltimore City neighborhoods, including Broadway East, Greenmount West, Hollins Market, Oliver, Park Heights, Reservoir Hill, Roland Park, and Seton Hill. Alex earned a BBA in finance from Howard University, and he currently resides in Baltimore City with his wife and two sons. Welcome, Alex.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Let's also welcome Khalil Ukta as part of the development team at Charm City Buyers. Mr. Ukta is responsible for financial modeling, strategic focus, organizational capacity, partnership advancement, and community engagement. His expertise in residential development seamlessly transitions to his role as lead on Henderson Crossing, a $15 million for sale residential development consisting of 50 plus units located in East Baltimore. Mr. Ugda has rehabilitated vacant and blighted properties for residential resale since 2012. Mr. Ugda continues to oversee a portfolio of 20 plus rental units in Baltimore, Maryland, and Hartford, Connecticut. We are so glad to have you. Welcome, Khalil. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. So honored to be here.
Yes, y'all looking good, looking like Black excellence. I see you. So to get our conversation started, I'm gonna start y'all off with an easy one, okay? The question I'm gonna ask for you and for those people in the chat is, what is something you own that was given to you that you take great pride in? And that's for anyone. What is something you own that was given to you that you take great pride in?
Something that I own that was given to me that I take great pride in is life. I don't know if that's a little too esoteric or out there, but it's true. Life was given to me, and I'm super appreciative of the thought process of being able to just have a working and functioning body. Let's keep it real basic, right? My feet hit the ground. I got air in my lungs. I got food. I got a couple dollars in my pocket. Like, I'm grateful.
Yes. Life cannot be, it is definitely a gift that we should not, squander. We should pay attention to the fact that that is a gift. Thank you.
I was just going to piggyback on that and say my African ancestry, the lineage that I have from my mother, Mary Peoples, my father, Vincent Cormany, my grandparents, and all of the wisdom and that ancestral DNA that I know has provided me this opportunity to be, this melanated sister doing these great things. I couldn't have done it without their wisdom and everything that they gave to me in my bloodline.
All right.
And I have to agree with both of them. And if I could choose one word, I'd probably say opportunity. Super grateful for various opportunities. Will tell you in this business, and as a minority business owner, the more you do, the higher you increase your track record, the relationships you build, opportunity will come. We're at the point where people know us as, experts in historic or, vacant and blighted property restoration, and we get called on to look at different projects, whether that's from the city, whether that's from other developers and investors. But I'm very grateful for building a brand, building a reputation, and the opportunities that come our way.
Oh, see, now look at here. Tell me this conversation's not going to be good. Those people in the chat, y'all better get on and get your questions in, because this conversation's already heating up. I'm excited. So tell me this, what made you get into this work? What inspired you to get into this work? And I'm leaving this open right now. I'm not calling on a particular person.
I don't share this story enough, but it's funny. I tell people, I closed my first deal when I was like 10 years old, and I didn't even know I closed it. So I was, in elementary school. We were moving from the Midwest to the East Coast. I overheard my parents talking about, moving, but keeping the house and renting it out, because fortunately we did, own that property. And I was just a kid playing with the neighbors. And I'm like, yeah, we moving. We might rent our house out. And they were like, really? And they had a friend that was interested in moving to that community. And I basically connected the neighbor with my parents, and that friend of theirs ended up renting my birth home for like 5 years. I was able to find that tenant for my parents, and it turned out to be a great relationship. And post that, when I was in high school, I never accepted the status quo. So thinking that, and there was nothing wrong with working in grocery stores or, food outlets, any job opportunity is phenomenal, but I wanted to push the envelope. When I was working in real estate office, during high school, and I got to watch and learn and be a sponge and soak up information. So really, it was just an early start and early exposure and pushing that envelope to put myself in the mix and just gain experience and exposure.
Okay, did you get a cut off that rent agreement, or?
I mean,
a raise in that allowance? What happened?
You might have taken a trip or something, but it wasn't even about the money. Down the line, when I look at it, it was like, wow, I brokered that deal. But we were just humble back then. We were humble. We weren't really charging.
What about you, Khalil or Ashley? How'd you get started? What inspired you?
Yeah, so as soon as I graduated college, I knew for me, actually before college, right? I knew for me that the entrepreneurship path was 100% the path for me. The corporate ladder, kind of like walking to resumes and career fairs, and like it's a great path. It works for a lot of people. It just wasn't my path, and I knew that from a very early age. So I had to find something that was going to, one, generate revenue, two, create positive change in the community, and three, have some kind of asset that I could pass down to future kids. And real estate checked all of those boxes for me. So right after I graduated from college, I looked at buying a duplex, which already had a tenant in one unit, and I was going to rent the other one for myself, or live in the other unit. I did not move forward with that, but after moving to Connecticut with my wife, we bought a 3-unit property, and we've been buying ever since.
Wow, that's some forward thinking right there. Like being able to say, like, this path doesn't work for me. Usually, we kind of stumble down a path for a while before realizing, oh, this path really doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no, I knew from the very beginning, like having somebody yell at me and tell me what to do all day long. Nah, it's not gonna do it for me.
Well, what about you, Ashley?
Well, I knew I wanted to be a millionaire. I was like, I want to be wealthy because I have a philanthropic spirit. And when I looked at careers, I said, what could do this? And really, it was sales. And when I thought about, well, what could I sell? Because I never wanted to have a ceiling. In corporate America puts a cap on your salary, right? And so it ultimately boiled down to real estate. I knew that was a career where I had no ceiling, where opportunities were endless, and then mix that knowledge with my career. And I was on the real estate investing path, and it was not easy. So I ended up getting my real estate license because it was a lower barrier to entry into the real estate industry. And then from there, it was just divine. I always tell people being a part of the Freedom Georgia initiative was purpose. And I just yield to God when it comes to that.
Oh, and we're gonna have to see the video and know all about this Freedom Georgia initiative. I'm very excited about it. I saw dirt bikes and I was like, I'm in. I'm there. Then I was like, oh, it's dirty. So tell me this, what would y'all say is your biggest challenge for African Americans in building or redeveloping communities?
Well, I'll start. I'll just say for us, it's the same problem that I hear time and time again when I go to real estate conferences, when I get into rooms. It's that access to capital. Even after 2020, when everybody stood up and said, yes, I want to support Black and brown lives, and till this day, we look at venture capital, people are still not investing in women. I look at Don Peoples and what he was doing with the Women in Real Estate Development Fund. He couldn't raise his goal for his fund. And it's just always that challenge of access to capital. And of course, we also have issues with credit in our community. And so getting our financial literacy so that we can make the best decisions to be able to go and get that money, or even work collaborative like we did to practice cooperative economics and bring the money together ourselves. So that's usually the hardest challenge, is where's the money going to come from?
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I would add to that is exposure. I talked about experience and exposure. Unlike the Donald Trumps of the world, most of our fathers were not developers, or particularly in real estate or finance. So we never got that exposure. So capital is number one. But behind that, there's no blueprint or roadmap. A lot of this is self-taught. a lot of this, if you're lucky, you may have a mentor or a sponsor, but you're kind of learning as you go. And if you're lucky, someone, ahead of you will reach back and bring you along for that ride, or you learn, on site or in the field. But capital and I would say exposure are two big barriers.
I agree with both of those. And going along with exposure, I don't think there are just enough of us in this space. So the quantity of educated folks who are in all the various aspects of real estate, whether that's as a broker, a lender, architect, engineer, civil engineer, right? City planner, developer, all the different pieces that create this development world, there just aren't enough of us. So when it comes time to make decisions on where capital flows or what projects get funded or which streets get closed or one-ways or traffic mitigation, there aren't enough of us at the table to say, wait a second, we need to make sure that there's enough car traffic down this business intersection to feed the businesses that are in this neighborhood that happens to be predominantly Black and brown. Right? And that's just one small example of how having seats at the table changes the game and really positions communities to not just survive, but thrive.
Thrive. Yes. Thank y'all for sharing that. Those are definitely some barriers that we're always working on, and it kind of goes across different areas, right? Like not just in land ownership or in building, but also just when we're trying to move forward in different ventures, it's always like, where's the money coming from? So that's always something that we're looking for. Where's the guidance and exposure that we need to be successful? So thank you so much for sharing that. Can y'all tell me a little bit more about your business, the work that you're doing, your portfolio? I like Khalil, that smile that came out. You have to go first.
I'm on it. All right. So again, Khalil Ukhta, Charm City Buyers. So we've been in business for 10 years, and we are a vertically integrated real estate development firm. And when I say vertically integrated, we've got an education component where we coach people on Baltimore-specific residential development. We've got the development firm where we build our own houses, whether that's adaptive reuse in the historic space or brand new. We've got an internal construction company that's a minority business enterprise certified by the state. And we are constantly kind of working on different aspects of our business to help provide a one-stop shop for folks who want to get into the development space. We've got some pretty fun and exciting opportunities in the finance space, putting dollars together from multiple sources. But yeah, we're Charm City Buyers. My wife and I started in 2012, and we've kept it going ever since.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Alex is jumping in. Let's see.
So Alex Aaron again, Blank Slate Development. We are based in Baltimore City. We started as a real estate developer and a for sale developer at that, focused on residential. So we would buy property, fix them up, and make them available for sale for home ownership. So kind of preaching generational wealth through home ownership. And since then, we've kind of expanded. So the CDM stands for Construction Development and Management. In this business, you'll learn it is as you grow and expand and you kind of have that economies of scales, sometimes it makes sense to bring certain divisions in-house. So we are also a licensed general contractor in the state of Maryland, MBE certified with Baltimore City, mainly to be the general contractor on our own projects, but we also offer that services to other investors and nonprofits. And then on the management side, currently, we do not offer property management services, but we now purchase multifamily assets. So we buy property, we fix it up, and instead of selling it, we hold that asset and make it available for rent. So we have for sale product, we have for rent product, and then we have a construction arm, currently, again, all focused in Baltimore City.
Wow, very cool. Ashley?
Yes. So our business, Freedom Georgia Initiative, at its core is municipality building. So we purchased 502 acres of land with the goal to build into a fully functional, sustainable, smart city over time. So we have a long-term plan. One of the things that we're doing first and foremost is looking at our food sovereignty aspects. So farming, agriculture is the first thing when you think about culture for our people and for our communities. So farming and cattle farming, organic farming, vertical organic gardening, those are the things that we're doing on this 502 acres of land. And we started first and foremost by simply subdividing our land into 6-acre farmsteads so that we could pull people in to the project to build a home, to begin farming, and to really create this sustainable community. At our core, we're just an LLC. Eventually, we will change and create spin-off entities like our brothers were talking about, having that construction company, having those different businesses that create synergies so that we can see the city begin to manifest over time.
I have to ask, how much does it cost to buy 502 acres? Because I don't think y'all realize 502 acres, that's a lot of land.
Yeah, for real. Good work.
Serious.
Thank you. Now, one of the things I will say is it was way affordable because we are in middle Georgia. There's lots of opportunity, especially for our community. We talk about capital being a problem. I preach, let's get out of these urban city centers that are so exorbitant in cost and look for opportunities in rural areas. Get an hour outside of that metro space and begin to look for opportunities in those places. And that's been our success story. We were able to I can't even tell you what we were able to purchase our land for, but it was more than affordable. It would not be that affordable today because when we purchased the land in 2020, it was a different real estate market. Today, we've seen a 3 times increase in our property appreciation because we bought at the right time.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Still a lot of land, y'all. 500 acres. My God.
Yeah, that's a lot of land. I hear that.
Awesome.
Well,
culture.
I mean, Ashley, you said all this. I've got to see the video. I got to see what you up to. You done set it up so sweet. Is it gonna show all 500 acres? Acre number 1. Like go through.
No, but I do. You can visit us on our YouTube page, and you can see some of the land and the drone footage there.
Oh, that is beautiful, and I think we have some video here, so I'm excited to see it if we can pull that up. Yes. Okay, Khalil and Aaron, I need y'all to get out there and grab some stuff and help move some earth. You ready to do it?
Ready. Look, I got the heavy machinery. We can head on down.
But y'all are already moving earth in Baltimore.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So tell me, when it comes to working with our community and getting them to understand the importance of like home ownership and buying and just investing, what do you think are some of those barriers that get people kind of stuck on like even to pay attention to this type of work?
You know, I think it's the notion that it's extremely difficult or it's impossible, right? And it could stem from our parents never purchased, or I'm the first one to go to college, or I would be the first one to purchase a property. But as Ashley mentioned too, credit can be a barrier, down payment could be a barrier, but you would be amazed. And I know for sure in Baltimore and in Maryland in general, and even the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, you'd be amazed how many programs, either city, state, or federal, are out there where you can get credit repair, where you can get incentives to literally buy a property with zero money out of your pocket. Again, it's the exposure and the experience that I touched on too. If you don't know about these programs or the incentives, how can you, move forward? So we've done studies, and I'm sure Khalil, who actually teaches courses and has more experience than I in this, but we've done studies where sometimes people can purchase a house with no money down, and their mortgage would be less than what they're paying for rent. They may be paying $1,500 for a 2 or 3 bedroom row home or apartment. And then when they buy that property, they have an $1,100 mortgage. So not only are they saving money, but now they have a tax write-off, because when you have a mortgage, it's made up of PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And that interest expense can be written off, which will reduce your tax burden. And the best part of it is, as an area improves, you get appreciation, which is what we call equity. So the house maybe that you bought for $200,000 next year could be worth $225,000 or $250,000, and 5-7 years down the line it could be worth $450,000. So you can use or leverage that equity to start a business, send your kids to school. I mean, there's just so much benefits and pros of home ownership if we can just share information and help each other get that credit and take advantage of those incentives that are out there nationally.
And to piggyback on what Alex said, I think a lot of times people feel like they don't know if they're going to be in a place for 30 years, right? So you have this fear like, oh, what if my job change? Oh, what if this place I buy is going to get too small or to just not be where I want to live? Ultimately, you should buy now. When's the best time to buy? Now. It's always when you're ready, when you're able. And like Alex has said yesterday, right? The sooner, the better, because again, he touched on that equity. If you don't stay in that house for 30 years, it's okay. You can contact me. I'll sell it for you. So that's one of the things that I think we get in our heads sometimes. If you're not dealing with, a credit issue or a cash issue, you might be dealing with just that psyche of, will I want to be in this place for that long? But you can always leave that space. You don't have to be in that home for 30 years just because you have a 30-year mortgage.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to share 2 quick examples with something that both Alex and Ashley said. So when Ashley says now's the time to buy, I was talking to a gentleman, a recent college graduate, who had spoken with a few different people and gotten some input. And his thought process was, okay, I work, I save up a nest egg, I buy a house. Right, a very typical thought process. So when I spoke with him, I kind of flipped that on its head, and I said, no, look, technically with the income that you're making from your job, you're a quote unquote affordable component, like an affordable person, right? So you need to go to a program like NACA that gives extremely low interest loans. Or you can kind of look at all these different types of programs in the Baltimore City area and look at buying a house, and then you can rent it to your friends who are also recent college graduates. Now you're starting to build wealth. Now you're thinking longer term in a way that changes the game, not only for you, but the future yous, right? And then looking at Alex's example, we had a family, a man and wife purchased one of our houses, and we took them through what's called the CHAP tax credit, which freezes your property taxes at their current assessed value before you rehab a property. For those who don't know, Baltimore City taxes are higher than any neighboring county in the Maryland area. So freezing your property taxes at its current assessed value saves you literally thousands of dollars a year on your property taxes, meaning that you can either afford more house or you have a reduced mortgage. On top of that, we coached them and made sure that they got the vacancy to value $10,000 booster grant, which helped with their down payment. They were NACA participants as well. So their mortgage is somewhere between $700 and $800 a month, where the rent for that is literally about $1,500. On top of that, they bought it. They've got about $100,000 in equity because of when they bought it compared to now. So now this family who they're looking to start a family, have kids, those types of things, they are well on their way to being financially solvent and being very comfortable, having disposable income that they can pour back into different communities and amenities and businesses in their area to really create community.
So what y'all are doing in this work is building the Black family, right? Like by building home ownership, land ownership, it's building the Black family at a very base level. That's beautiful. Hold on, can we just take a moment? that is a beautiful thing. So tell me, like, what advice would you have for other people that are trying to get into this work in real estate or in investing? Real estate
Find a mentor.
Investors.
Find a mentor. When you feel confident, we all have that innate ability to just know that something's right. If it feels right, just trust your gut. Just go. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't share your dreams with people who don't think the way you think. Surround yourself with a community of people who are like-minded, who see that aspiration, and they say, no, it's not too big. In fact, think bigger, right? Don't buy 50 acres, buy 502 acres. And just jump.
And, I would also say, do your research. At a minimum, we don't spend time researching. We go what we see on the news or what our cousin told us or what our auntie told us. But as Ashley mentioned, I said, it's not today. The best time is yesterday. So do your research, find out about the programs, ask people. Maybe you do have a cousin who's bought a property and you admire that, reach out to them, see what their experience is like. I won't sit here and lie and say it's a walk in the park and it's easy. No, it's tough. You got to find the property. You got to potentially have some down payment, or you may not. If you take advantage of the programs, you might have to get some credit cleanup. So it can take 1 month, 30 days. It could take 6 months or 12 months. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start by researching. You got to ask questions, and don't give up. There were times when I was ready to walk from deals because of financing, and I pushed through. So it's going to be rough, potentially, but you can do it. Plenty of people have done it before you, and you just got to get started somewhere. And you will really, really appreciate yourself once you accomplish that, and then you may have an appetite to buy more in the form of rental property or investment property. So just get started and do research.
Mm-hmm. Part of that just seems like to get started with this, there's like a fundamental belief that I can do it, right? That I have the ability, that I have the resources, that I have I will be able to figure this out, and I can maintain and stay that course to learn. So I love that. Ashley, did you want to jump in on that as well?
I was just going to say ditto. You got to plan. You need to prepare. If you know that, if you're not ready today, that means you take your time to ask those questions and get ready for tomorrow. And the sooner that you get your mindset prepared that I am going to be a home buyer, just be persistent and don't give up when it gets hard. So I just wanted to echo what they already said.
Persistence. Well, let's talk about move from persistence to vision, which takes persistence, and talk about the visions for your business going forward, what you have already done and what you're looking to do with your businesses. And anyone can start, whoever gets inspired first. I'd like to leave it open.
Well, we're just getting started in our business, Freedom Georgia Initiative. So ideally, what we'd like to see is we'll start breaking ground. We have our first phase was 78 acres. We did the 6-acre farmsteads. Our next phase will be 100 acres where we'll do mixed use development with retail at the bottom, senior living at the top, and some townhouses, all in sustainable materials and utilizing renewable energy as energy sources, and partnering with Black brands and veterans and women and all socially disadvantaged people. We want to bring them to the space so that they have an opportunity to show their skill set, to do their highest and best in the space, so that we can create a replicable model that we can then have a Freedom Texas, a Freedom California, a Freedom New York. Because one of the things that we want to do is to really champion the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations has put forth, so that we can have what we deserve And that's, a protected planet. We need to have protected people, and we should be able to make profits when we build in that way.
Yeah, we go every time Ashley finish talking, we just gonna be like, yeah, agreed. Khalil, Alex, what's your vision? And Khalil, let me ask you something. Your wife's not on here, but I know she holds the business down with you. What's that like, that partnership?
Oh man, it's beautiful, right? It's great. It's one of those things where we can bounce ideas off of each other. We can collaborate together. I've got my business partner, my confidant, my wife, right in the same space, which is great. Until it's not, right? No, I think the reality of it is we're still married, right? And we have to treat each other as lifelong partners and as like emotional beings. We can't just work, but we have to be able to play, and we've got to be able to support each other emotionally. And we've got a 9-year-old daughter that we have to cater to and make sure that she's being poured into on a consistent basis, not every other day, but like literally every single day. We have to take time to pour into her and to pour into each other. So I love it. Personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. I very intentionally chose a spouse who I knew I could build a business with. I like to say that where most kind of CEOs have 24 hours in a day, at Charm City Buyers, we have 48 hours in a day, because there are two of us at the helm, and we can bounce off each other. We can keep things going on multiple tasks, and that's how we've been able to scale. So our long-term vision, we've got a couple of different things. We're going to stay in the residential for sale housing space. We also dabble and work with nonprofits for affordable housing, specifically Community Land Trust for permanently affordable housing. We've got some larger developments that we're building. I think you mentioned one during the intros, but Eager Landing, it's a 54 unit for sale townhouse development right in the heart of East Baltimore. Next to Johns Hopkins Hospital, for those who don't know, the world-renowned Johns Hopkins Hospital. So we'll continue kind of building out those aspects. Multifamily units, 100, 150, 200 unit mixed use apartment complexes. We're certainly moving into those spaces aggressively. And we want to continue kind of building ourselves. One thing about Baltimore City is that we have a lot of vacant houses. Right? There are estimates that say 16,000 vacant houses. There are estimates that say 30,000 plus vacant houses. We have a lot. And when my wife and I and others looked at each other, like it's just not possible. We can't do it all by ourselves. So we have to replicate ourselves as much as possible. That's why we created the group coaching program, the Next Gen Accelerator, which is an online program. We help folks learn residential development in Baltimore City, so that they can build their own wealth and continue taking vacant properties, turning them into homes. Within the last 12 months, our students have acquired a little over $12 million in residential properties. We've coached thousands of students online. And we've got about 650 to 700 in our core group that are going around Baltimore City, east, west, north, south, buying up properties as expeditiously as possible. So that model is something that we can take to multiple cities, similar to how Ashley mentioned, a franchise model, or even just kind of like a build out model. So we've got some very, very lofty and ambitious long-term visions and long-term goals. Just want to make sure that we are pouring into ourselves as much as possible as we accomplish those things.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna have to have a clap for that too.
Sit up. Can we pray? Can we get the oil out? We got 502 acres. We got me and my wife. And are y'all hearing these stats? Like, this is not normal. This is not normal, and it's beautiful, and it's Black owned. So I have to just shout out to my colleagues. I'm just sitting here like, well, damn, what's really happening? But no, in all seriousness, these guys are inspiring. To hear this, and this is what I'm talking about, getting in the mix, hearing it. It's like, well, let me go get me 500 acres. We have to encourage each other. We have to share with each other. But Rochelle, to answer your question though, my next steps is to scale. You know, I got started, and my background is finance. So I was a corporate guy. I used to work on Wall Street, a former New York cat, and left that, started real estate, and transitioned full-time to real estate in 2015. So for the past couple of years, I've been learning and building the craft, right? Learning zoning and permits and CHAP. I've been learning the construction arm. I've been silently building my team, right? So I've done blocks, I've done buildings, and now it's really to scale up, to Khalil's point. So on the residential side, maybe looking to do 50 to 100 houses instead of just 10 or 15 houses, which is still a lot. You know, on the multifamily side, instead of doing, you know, a 10 or 14 unit, maybe we're doing a 30 or 50 unit building, or even 100 unit. So in this business, you got to have your foundation, you know, you got to learn the ropes first, but the goal is always to scale. And that's what I'm excited to do. You know, watching the introduction video, my office that I'm sitting in, Peace Collectives, actually used to have a pop-up shop here. So even that, keeping it in the family where there was Black folks in the space, and I was fortunate enough to purchase this building on Park Avenue, may I add, it's just incredible. And Sister Muhammad asked, you know, what are you doing too within your business to put people on? Every chance we get, whether it's on the professional side of architects and engineers or lawyers, or on the construction side with electricians and plumbers or mechanical, whoever, anytime we can get MBE, Minority Business Enterprise, or WBE, Women Business Enterprise, we always try and give people opportunity, because at the end of the day, our companies are going to spend these dollars regardless, right? So it makes sense to try and reach out, and there's plenty of qualified people. When I hear companies say, you know, depending on, you know, the sector and or the trade, but those people are out there, and when you get them, you have to share them. So I'm interested in scaling up. I'm currently focused in Baltimore. Would love to look at other cities and even in the nation. So we might come down to Georgia, Ashley, and join you. But it's creating that synergy. It's sharing that information, and it's just climbing and continue to climb.
Oh, well, Alex, we got some more claps. I got some more claps. I was actually going to pull out a church fan, but I didn't have one. I was like, it's time for the Martin Luther King fan. Y'all are doing it big. Well, Alex, I would love to see what you've been working on. Maybe we can pull up the video and see what your work has been. Yes.
Yeah. Listen, but between the pictures and the music, I was over here like. Fire, bro, fire.
Oh man. We have a question from Sister Ikrama about how did you, and I think Alex, you started to answer this, but I want to open it up for Alex and Khalil as well, Ashley and Khalil as well. How do you integrate Black businesses into your work of rebuilding blighted communities?
So fortunately, in the real estate, sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
I'll say we're not in the work of rebuilding blighted communities today. We are very much in the work of building and finding Black businesses and Black innovators to build from the ground up. Our goal is to not retrofit the buildings and the spaces that were created for us, but rather to build from a space of self-determination and pulling in Black architects, Black master planners, city planners. We're working with Black inventors who have water generation. So that's where we are, is in a space where we want to highlight and uplift the next generation of Black innovators in the space that's uniquely for them.
I love that because it's both and, right? I love that we're taking areas that are blighted and we're changing them and making them into something beautiful that serves our communities. And then we're also looking to the future of, well, what could we do if we got it from the base up? What base from the foundation? What could we create? I love that too. Khalil, you were going to say?
Yes. So for us in the world that we operate in, pretty often there's different kind of components where you have to by code, by law, whatever, hire MBE firms, WBE firms, and locally owned businesses, LBE firms. So we take those very seriously to the point where not only do we look to meet the goals, but we look to exceed the goals greatly as much as possible. Doubling, even tripling sometimes the MBE and WBE participation. So we very intentionally target Black-owned and women-owned and locally owned trades folks, architecture firms, engineering firms, legal firms, so that we can really put as many of our folks on as possible. These projects are huge. They're multi-million-dollar projects. So to be able to create an economy using this vehicle, I mean, it's something that when I was a high school or college kid, or even fresh out of college, I would have never dreamed of having the level of impact that all of us are having.
Yeah, and the folks that are watching in the stream, they're with it too. I don't know if you're seeing all this, but it's a lot of hearts, a lot of high fives. They cheering with us. Okay. Leslie says, amazing and so inspiring to see the transformation. Right. So we are just being blessed to have this conversation with y'all. Thank y'all just for a moment stopping and saying thank y'all for sharing your time with us and talking to us about this. It's been beautiful. And then we continue because I got more questions. I want to know more things. We were talking about hiring people and making sure that our community is represented in what we're building and what we're creating. So what is your process for selecting like the professionals that you work with on a real estate project?
And I'll jump in, that's a phenomenal question. I will tell you, as I built my business, and just so we kind of set the tone, there's two types of employees. There's 1099, which is like subcontract employees. They can be consultants, they can be temporary. And then there's W-2 employees, which, are full-time employees. And there's nothing more exciting to be a business owner and kind of see that pivot over time where you go from just 1099s to now you got big boy payroll and you're doing W-2 and you have like real staff. So as I built my business, I've tried to not only, publicize and interview, but really select the best of the best. I'm a proud alum of Howard University in DC. And there was a sister there, Courtney Thompson. She worked with me. She worked on Wall Street with me, and I tapped her and I said, "Hey, I'm building something. Come to Baltimore." And she did. And she was my first full-time hire. And I could not tell you how much of an impact she's made. And to have her by my side as a friend, but as a colleague and someone who looks after my company as if it was her own, it's phenomenal. And then you continue spreading that as you bring people on board. But it comes down to talent. We're not out here just to give people jobs, just to say we hired our cousins and this and that. No, boo-boo, you still got to be qualified and you got to come with it. And at the end of the day, you're a representation of us. Blank Slate has done a wonderful job of building a brand, not just on the quality and the type of, fixtures and finishes and design that we offer, but also our relationship in the community, among the legacy residents, among city council and community association. That's an important ingredient too. So you can't just have shiny stuff and then maybe not be accessible, or you don't have that community engagement piece. But yeah, we're offering opportunities, short term on the construction side, and project-based, as well as full-time on the office side. So it's an exciting thing. And you don't forget people who were there in the beginning and you bring them with you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And Mary in the chat said, well-informed presenters and subject matter experts, thank you for sharing. So very inspiring. May blessings upon blessings continue to chase you at every turn. Hey, I like your blessings chasing you.
Yeah, thank you. Received.
Yes, I received that, Mary. One of the things that I would just say is that you have to vet people, and we live very heavily on referrals. Like if you do good work and people are talking about you, well, we want to bring you into the fold. And so we've been working very strategically. We hire a lot of consultants, a lot of vendors who are helping us to go from phase to phase on our project. And we always focus on, again, like my brother said, minority business enterprise, women-owned small businesses, veterans businesses, because we want to provide opportunities to our people to shine and to be able to build those legacy projects, right? This is for us a way to leave legacy. So we want to bring those people on board who actually not just have the talent and the skills, they got to have that too, but a vision to really understand what the project is all about. And if there's not synergy and an alignment there first, then it doesn't matter if you're a minority business or a woman business or a veteran business. What matters most is that you understand the vision, the mission, and the purpose of why we do what we do.
So very true. I love that. I love that a lot. And it's equally important for all of us, I'm sure, where you got to just be aligned with the vision. And if you're not, then that's fine. You've got your own vision. There's another company out there for you. So for us, we do very well with social media. We've got a very strong Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, Twitter presence. So we do a lot of our hiring through our social media platforms. We'll blast out an email to our 40,000 plus email folks. We'll post a few times on social media, and then we'll have a funnel where they can click through and then put their information into a survey. It puts it into a database for us. We can call them as soon as the opportunity arises. Our group coaching students, actually, I just interviewed and had an HVAC professional and a plumber walk through one of my newly started projects recently, a couple of days ago. And I found both of them through our group coaching students. They self-reported on their own free will on our group coaching platform that they had a great experience with this contract, and somebody else picked them up. I had a great experience too. And to Ashley's point, once you get those referrals, it's like, okay, this person sounds like they're solid. Let me bring them in because the timing's right. I got a project for them. Black-owned businesses. Let's see if we can give them a go. So I'm excited to start working with a few new subs as we continue building out our subcontractors, our internal folks. Alex mentioned bringing up family, right? So we're very much a family-owned business. It's my wife and I. And we've put on quite a few of our relatives. So Kiera has a cousin who works on our construction side. I have a niece who came from Hensel and Phelps. She's done $1 billion worth of commercial work, 1 million square feet, which is fantastic. So she's on our development side. We've got her brother who's on our sales side. Just making sure that we're working within with family who are competent, who have the skill set, who take it seriously and know how to separate family from business, because you can't put everybody on.
The whole time you're talking, I'm like,
you gotta be careful, right? Yeah, I think
I got some cousins that ain't ready.
They're not ready yet. I think Biggie said it best, right? Money and blood don't mix. You gotta be a little bit careful there. So, but no, we absolutely love putting folks on and making sure that we're spreading our net as wide as possible so that we can capture the best talent in the city.
And I will add to that, in a city like Baltimore that is developing, it's not developed yet. So clearly it doesn't look like DC or New York throughout. In some places it does. But what has been some of my secrets too is leveraging legacy residents, because people in the community want to work. And when you put them on your jobs, there's pride of ownership. As Ashley mentioned, there's the vision that they're getting. But I often saw, particularly, and again, we deal with vacant and blighted neighborhoods where there's nobody around, easy for theft and vandalism and all that. But when you engage the community, you give them opportunity, put them on the project, it's word on the street like, hey, that's it's theirs. That's my project. Don't mess with that. So it's also a protection piece. But apart from that, it's the economic development opportunity that you're providing for those folks in the community. So doing that community engagement from, what do they want to see and what are they interested in? But also, hey, are you willing and able to come and get on this project? Whether it's demo, painting, electric, whatever. It's been a great source for us in tapping local talent.
Let me ask you this. So I might have an interest in doing this work, but not have like the skill set and need to learn that skill set. Do you know of like the pipelines that help people get into this industry so that they can, benefit from what's being done?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So there are workforce development firms that coach and teach specific trades. So there's like electrician workforce development, or HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, carpentry, where you can basically go to like a night school or a weekend school and learn trades and learn the right way to do it, learn the legal implications around it, learn what types of licenses you need in order to be successful, how long it takes to get those licenses. There are trade schools. Some of them are for a fee. Some of them are not. You just got to find the right ones in your specific area. Additionally, for those folks with college age kids or who are in college now, a lot of colleges offer the same types of programs, whether it's construction management training, for example, at Morgan State here in Baltimore, or other types of programs. There's absolutely ways to get your feet wet and get into the industry. And the beauty of it is that there's a shortage of really good contractors. A lot of the contractors are legacy, they may be slightly older, and they've got these really great skills, but they haven't passed those skills on. So the industry as a whole is going to need folks who know the skills, who can literally build a house to ensure that we can continue doing what Ashley, myself, and Alex are doing.
Because I definitely see this idea of like, we've kind of gotten on this path, like you go to school, you go to college, you go here, right? And you go into the workforce, and that is your marching orders, if you will. And what we've left behind in those marching orders is like how to do, how to do for self. And the trade schools and learning how to be self-sufficient is just something that we need to get again and value again. Ashley, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off of what Khalil said about the workforce development programs. Technical colleges are usually the place to go for that. If you are currently unemployed, the Department of Labor usually has some opportunities and program and funds for you to be able to go back to school to upskill. And then, of course, we're in a digital era, right? So lots of people have online programming now. So if you're not going to go into the construction and trades, you can easily get into real estate, become a real estate investor, and you can learn using a lot of these digital platforms. Like Khalil's got his coaching program. I follow Charm City Buyers and everything they do on social media. And so reputable people who are out here doing the work, get in those programs and get up under that mentorship so that you can go from thinking about it to executing.
Okay. All right. Y'all didn't give me no church fan. Pass me the church fan. Ain't nobody pass me nothing. And y'all doing all this great. Let's see Khalil's video. I want to see all this work that you've been doing with you and your wife at Charm City Buyers.
Too busy eating my own fruit to check if yours is sweeter. Too busy watering my grass to check if yours is greener. I need a celebration, celebrating hella patience. I was down, but now I'm up. I'm celebrating elevation. Exes hate, but I know it's love. Everyone late on the train but us. Still in the Nissan, still my day one, still keep it real as fuck. Plus, I boss up, yeah, it's been like that. Went on tour.
Okay, I see the beat was back, the music.
Something fun. We love to put together these videos.
Yes, you got to be hyped for it. Each one of you are great successes in your own right. And I want to just take a moment for you to tell us, like, what are some things that you think particularly make you successful? Or what are some things that for other people that want to get into this industry, what would make them successful? What do they have to have? That grit, that determination, what is it that they have to have?
It's a lot, but I will tell you, and I will never shy away from it, it's the relationships. You know, I'm here today at the level I am because of the relationships I formed over time. You know, I got started in Baltimore from a financing perspective through a community CDFI, a community development financial institution, which is really like a nonprofit bank. So I didn't walk into Bank of America or Wells Fargo and say, hey, give me a loan, because they would have showed me the door expeditiously. But I partnered with a CDFI. I got 1 loan, 2 loan, $500,000, $1 million, and climbed up. I made connections with inspectors, right? So if while I was learning construction, because I don't have a construction background, I had a question and maybe I didn't know that code, I would call that inspector and say, hey, can you come by? Can you take a look at this? Or can you make sure these guys are doing it right? Council, when you get to bigger stuff and you need zoning or variances, you got to have relationships with your respective council people, City Hall, DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. So again, it's, as Khalil said, even with the 30,000 plus vacants, we can't do this alone. But even in this business, you can't. You have to have connections and resources and colleagues. So it's very important that you build relationships. And again, you return that favor too, you know, whether it's showing up, you know, for one of their church meetings or going to a community association volunteer event or whatever. It's not just call and use, but you repay that favor in any given way. And I'm not talking monetary or bribe. I'm just talking about support and being there. So relationships for me is what has carried and helped Blank Slate grow.
Relationships, for sure.
I think reputation has been huge for us. Just making sure that we say we do what we say what we're going to do. We provide a very high quality product, whether that's a physical house, a property, or an experience. But relationships and reputation is really the 2 key ingredients, in my opinion. So making sure that the Charm City Buyers brand is something that permeates throughout each of the businesses, where we pride ourselves in building Black wealth and building Baltimore, right? Those are the 2 things that we consistently focus on. Those are our mantras. That's our heartbeat, and doing it in a way that preserves the historical fabric, whether it's the legacy residents or the physical buildings. But making sure that our reputation precedes us, so that when we go into a room, you know, people already know who it is and what we stand for and why we're there, what we're going to say, what angle we're going to take. There's no surprises that that we're there to represent affordable housing, market rate housing, for sale housing, building Black wealth, and building the city.
Okay, R&R, rep and relationships. Ashley?
And I was going to say, you got to have a whole lot of audacity and confidence. At the end of the day, when you go into a lot of these spaces, there are very few people often who look like us. And so when you go in, you have to know your stuff. You have to be confident in who you are and what you bring to the table. You should be well researched so you can have the conversations. Because one thing about relationships, you have to know what other people want. It's not a one-way street. So doing that research, understanding what's the city plan, what's the county plan, what's the vision that people have, and then having that audacity to go in the room and say, I'm the person you need. I have the skill sets. I have the project. I have the everything that you've been looking for. And you need to, take me seriously and go in with that confidence and that audacity that you can succeed in this business, because a lot of people will knock you down and tell you that you can't. And so that audacity and that confidence will kind of be something you can hold on to on the days when you aren't necessarily winning the way that you feel like you should be winning. That, this is just a part of the story and the narrative of our lives. And if I'm not winning today, at the end, I know I will win.
Yeah, and that's why you had to have the theme music, huh? Like I had to have the hype music, be audacious, you know. So then, if we're gonna think big, tell me, how can we buy a block in Baltimore? Boom.
You got to sign up for Charm City classes, and they gonna give you all the juice so you can buy a block. That's how you buy a block.
Listen, I see Alex over there buying multiple blocks. Don't be shy.
You know, I will tell you, there are, in all seriousness, there's a couple ways that you can buy, which is exciting. And again, it's more attainable than people think. I will tell you, it is difficult to assemble a block like that because that might be a little more rare than scattered site. However, you can buy directly from Baltimore City through Vacants to Value. If you guys Google Vacants to Value, that is a program in DHCD that offers a city property for sale. You can buy from auctioneers like AJ Billig, like Alex Cooper, like One House at a Time. They even have a One House at a Time Philly, I believe. So they're from the city, from auctions, and then the standard route through Bright MLS, through realtors like Ashley, and public servers in public forums where regular people are selling property. But it's very attainable. I will tell you, blocks are very challenging because oftentimes, at least in Baltimore, they have been sitting vacant for 20, 30, 40 years. We're not talking 1 or 2 years. So literally, often you're rebuilding the entire house down to the infrastructure. So new water, sewer lines, new sidewalks, not just the house and the sticks and bricks inside of it. So it's complex work. You're dealing with DPW, you're dealing with DOT sometimes, you're dealing with BG&E, which is our local electric company and gas company, multiple third parties involved. But again, I tell you, the success is pre-planning and pre-development makes for a perfect project. So not rushing into it, but getting your architect, your engineer, all those people that you need, the bank financing, the insurance agent, everybody at the table and doing proper planning makes for perfect execution. But yeah, number of ways to buy property, at least in Baltimore. And Khalil, feel free to add.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would add is the RFP process. Request for proposals, which it's a fancy way of saying a seller has, or a municipality or a county has a plot of land, and they want to get responses from different developers sharing what their plans are, what they want to do with the site, how they want to build it, and follow the guidelines of the RFP in order to figure out whose proposal is the best. And oftentimes RFPs are larger parcels where you get a block or multiple blocks in one specific area, or maybe acres.
Well, tell us, since you were talking about how to do it with the RFP and talking about the coaching and the classes, talk more about the coaching program that you have.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Hold on, let me bring out my
So it's a 12-week online coaching program, spaced out about a module per week. And what we do is we start at the very basics with a licensed psychologist who talks about mindset, and really shifting your way of thinking, so that once you hit the other 11 weeks, you're mentally prepared to hit the ground running. From there, we talk very intensely about different neighborhoods, different areas, your exit strategy, what your goals are. We get very personal into a person's goals and make sure that we can surround them with the right resources. We talk about the permitting process. We go through the construction process, the steps, how to negotiate and speak with contractors. We talk about stabilizing a property, whether that's a rental property or for sale home, disposition, so selling the property or renting it. And then we talk about scaling. Being able to manage tenants and then kind of scale your portfolio so that the sky's the limit. Like I mentioned, we have somewhere between 650 and 700 participants currently. Very excited for all of those folks who are doing incredible work. And our goal is to replicate ourselves. So take all the knowledge that we've learned over the years and continue to package it. As we grow, we lift as we climb, right? So we started with rentals, we started coaching it. We started with for sale, we started coaching it. Developments and communities and blocks, now we coach it. and continue to as we start attracting larger projects, multi-unit, commercial, we can continue to coach it. We love what we do on the housing side, but the true passion is making sure that others are able to participate and building wealth.
Yeah, that's all right. I am just so inspired by each and every one of y'all. And I'm going to throw this question, Ashley, to you first. Besides the obvious financial reasons, what's the importance of building Black communities either in the urban centers or rural areas? And also, thank you, Sister Ikrama and Karen, for these great questions that you're giving us.
It's all about culture for me. I think that when we rebuild our cities and these rural spaces, it reunites our family. It creates village accountability between community members. I think one of the things is ownership as well, because when we own and have pride of ownership, we take better care of not only the property, but each other. And so beyond just financial stability, I feel like it's the stability of the family. It's the stability of our extended neighbors and community. Education, poverty, and crime all get lowered when we have, really good communities that are, healthy, that are clean, that have been updated. It just changes the spirit of a human being when they're in, quality homes that we all deserve. And so it just is about culture first and foremost. And really it enhances our health outcomes, mental health, as well as physical health.
Well, I'm going to have to be physically healthy. You told me I have to garden and farm and stuff. That chicken not going to fry itself. Okay, I got it. Alex, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, and it gets back to what I said earlier about, and we can't relate obviously to rural, but at least urban, economic development. That's the basis. So economic development, generational wealth building, how can we shift the narrative among African Americans and people of color in communities that typically have suffered from disinvestment and opportunity for years? So I think for us, as we're building and we're thinking, even our philosophy that Khalil and I talk about, we do similar work. We buy properties in certain neighborhoods so that they can qualify for the historic credit. That historic credit really doesn't do anything for us as a developer. It's for the end user, the homeowner, right? And we're trying to help them go from paying rent to owning a home. And if that's the ticket that they need so that their mortgage is low or to reduce their tax payment, we're happy to do that, right? On the construction side, if we can engage community and get them on the project so that they can better themselves and, start their own business or do whatever, we're going to do that. So everything kind of relates to economic development. I know we don't want to talk about the dollar, but that's important. And that will spur progression among our community in different ways. Like I said, whether it's to go to school and college, whether it's to start a business, whether it's to start their own development projects, we have to expose people. We have to, get them on board and make sure that we as a community, African-American or people of color community are progressing forward.
Mm-hmm. Facts. I wish I had. I feel like I should have a musical cue after each one. Black, come back. Khalil, did you want to add on to that?
So the only thing I'll add is control, right? So financial control of your destiny, control of yourself. I don't think any demographic, Black, white, Asian, purple, brown, whatever, is being responsible to their lineage and being responsible to their future by giving up control over their community, whether that's the mental control or the physical. So why is it important? It's critical just for the longevity of the race, whatever the race is. There has to be some kind of ownership. And specifically in this country and in across the world, land ownership is one of the keys and one of the tickets that allows for a community to continue thriving. Pretty soon that ownership is going to be on the web, right? What metadata do you own, or what websites do you own, or those types of things. But for now, it's still by and large that ownership of land and ownership of resources really dictates how much control and how much power you have, and therefore how long you can survive and continue to thrive.
And I like that word thrive. We have been in a survival mode for a long time, and now we're looking at this place of like healing and what does it mean to thrive, and that ownership is part of that thriving. Understanding your economics, understanding, being financially literate, all of those things are part of thriving. So I thank you for putting that out there, each one of you. We're getting to the end of the conversation, so I got like 12 questions I want to ask. I got 12 questions that I need to ask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask 3 instead of my 12. I'm going to whittle it down to 3. 1, any plans, expansion plans, whether it's regionally or nationally? What I think, Ashley, you talked about some of your plans, but in general, what are your plans for expansion? We could start with Alex. I know how I do. I just be like, whoever feels inspired to speak.
Yeah, the growth plan for Blank Slate currently, like I said, is we're on a hiring strategy now. So getting new hires, back office support specifically, but also scaling and looking at some larger projects. So we currently have a 19-unit project under construction. We're getting ready to close on a 12-unit project next week. We're picking up a retail property, so also diversifying asset class. But yeah, sticking in Baltimore City for now. We will consider other cities, but we're still kind of building our base here, and then we'll go outside.
All right, cousins in Baltimore, do you know who to hit up? They are hiring. Khalil, Ashley.
Okay, I'll jump in. Expansion plans. So on the real estate side, we are aggressively moving into larger projects, just like Alex had mentioned. We've got this 54-unit townhouse for sale development that we're building out, and we'll leverage that to continue attracting larger projects. We've got a potential 20-unit townhouse development down in Prince George's County, which is closer to Washington, D.C. And we're always keeping our eyes open, not only for sale townhouse developments, but also for multifamily and mixed use. In terms of our group coaching, we've got students a little bit everywhere, right? So we've got folks in California and Florida and Chicago and New York, DC are our major hubs. But we've also got a lot of people in Ohio and Virginia and Milwaukee and a few other places. So we want to continue growing our group coaching program for anybody who's interested in residential development in Baltimore City. What makes Baltimore City so uniquely positioned is its history. So as the birthplace of redlining, there's still neighborhoods where literally across the street, the property values are substantially higher than in others. So that presents an opportunity where folks can come in and still stretch their dollars across properties where in other cities they just can't. So we feel like there's a huge need, and as long as folks who resonate with our vision want to come along board, then great. We're more than happy to have folks come along. Part of our expansion plan eventually, like I mentioned earlier, is to repeat this type of model in multiple cities, because there's a great need across the nation, and we're building our team in different cities so that within the next 5 to 10 years or so, we will be able to have students kind of learning from each other and growing and networking within themselves, so that their cities can also turn around and everybody can participate in the redevelopment of our beautiful country. that's our long-term visions.
I did mention that we are interested in having our model and our concepts roll out in other cities here in the United States, but we're actually focused on replicating this idea of being land stewards and collective economics. So it's not just about our Freedom Georgia initiative, but empowering other collectives and families to get together and to start buying and claiming land, especially in rural spaces. A lot of people have grandma's house, that heirs property, teaching people what to do with that land down south. I hear people from up north all the time. We got some land down south. I ain't never been. Well, I want to encourage people. You need to go back down south. Some people are calling it, a reverse Great Migration, people coming back to the South. And so I've been working with people. I teach a class called How to Buy Land Together. It's a digital delivery so that you can begin to get the very basic steps, because there's money in land. Everybody's not going to flip houses or redevelop houses. And when we think about farming and our food system, if we can reclaim land and be better land stewards, we can begin to see a change overall in this country. And of course, we're looking at relationships and taking our model across the global African community so that we are not just here on these United States soil, but there's opportunities to get land and to begin to develop in Africa. Nigeria is going to be a large opportunity. And so we're just looking at how can we take the resources and the strategic partnerships and then give you the blueprint so that you can make money off of land. And there's opportunity in raw, undeveloped land that most people don't see the value in. And that's where I like to be able to encourage people to begin to be farmers, because we need to do that. We need to start to be land stewards and conserving land. There's carbon tax credits. There's so many games that we can play. And a lot of us are just not in the game. So our goal with Freedom Georgia Initiative is to teach people all of the different areas of real estate beyond traditional residential and commercial.
Very cool. The future looks bright. Okay. All right. I'm enjoying this so much, but they gonna snatch me. If I keep talking, they gonna snatch me. So I have one more question. I'm getting it in because I want to know, what was the most important lesson that you learned from doing this work, whether it's a success or a failure? What is something that you learned that you kind of carry with you?
Never quit. Just don't do it. Always keep it going. The only way you lose is if you give up. And sometimes you got to pivot. Sometimes you got to get creative. Sometimes you got to lean on different resources and different people. But you got to trust that the vision was given to you for a reason. Only you have that vision, and that you got to see it through. Otherwise, you are wasting your God-given talents. And the world needs you, so you can't quit. We as a people can't afford to quit at any time. It's a burden, sure, but it's also a blessing, because we are the future, and we've got to reclaim and rebuild and make sure that as we are climbing, we're lifting. But anyway, don't quit. Just don't quit.
Just don't quit. That's a church right there. Alex?
Y'all want the real answer, or y'all want the political answer? What y'all want? Y'all tell me.
Keep it real. I want the real answer. That's what we
talked about honey earlier. You want this tea or you want this tea? What's that?
That's right. I want tea. I want to know.
So I will tell you guys, and partnerships can be a beautiful thing, but I always say be wary of joint ventures and partnerships. And again, I'm not saying don't do them. I'm just saying do your research. I will tell you, and I think Ashley touched on this earlier, and I learned this very early on. In order for a partnership to be successful, your value and visions have to align. Particularly in this industry. For example, Khalil and I are talking about pulling permits, getting insurance, being licensed, doing the right thing, where there's plenty of people looking the other way and doing the wrong thing. and then you sell that home to Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and their roof leaks within 3 months, and their electric wires all messed up. So when I talk about partnerships, it can be partnerships on a construction level, it can be partnerships on an investor level, it can be partnerships with realtors and banks, whoever. But do your due diligence, make sure your values and visions align if you're gonna, do a joint venture or partnership. And eventually you may not even need a partner. You'll be able to carry out projects by yourself.
And I would just say, be patient with yourself, with other people. This takes time. When I got started in this thing, I thought we were going to be building in 90 days, and that's not the case. And you have to be willing to go with the flow and have that flexibility, because just like the trees in the wind, if you're too stiff and you're like, I'm not going to budge, you're going to break. So you have to have some flexibility and some patience with yourself, with your partners, with the city, with the county, with your contractors, being patient and exhibiting some level of grace and compassion for each other. Because when you're in this business, nothing is going to go exactly according to plan. So be prepared for the surprises and to have just a level of compassion and patience with the process.
Yeah. That's some wise words. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy, and just dopeness. All the tea was spilled. We got all of it. I was trying to keep them on here a little longer, but apparently if you keep people too long, they just run away. We virtual, they just close their computer. But Cherie Harris wants to say, you are all such an inspiration for your generation and those before and coming after. Keep it going. This has been a wonderful conversation. Before we sign off, I want to take a moment. Can we all just say happy birthday to Karen?
Yes. Happy birthday, Miss Karen.
Happy birthday, Miss Karen.
Happy birthday.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed your day. And I hope everyone enjoyed this discussion and that it's given you some insight into what is possible when building community. If you enjoyed this discussion, please be sure to join us next month for Entrepreneurship where we'll discuss Black entrepreneurship, leveling up your business, and the concept of cooperative economics. And that's on October 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, thank you to our panelists again for their insights. Thank you to Krama Muhammad and Karen Freeman for gathering us together through the Pieces Collective. And thank you all for joining us. See you soon.